Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite books from when I was in middle school. And the reason I wanted to make this video is because I substitute teach, and a lot of the times I am in middle school. That's where I prefer to sub at. And it had me thinking, like watching kids reading what they were reading, had me thinking about what I like to read when I was their age, and I thought it would be cool to share with you guys some of my favorite books from kind of that era of my life. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is Listen by Stephanie S. Tolan. And I actually read this for the first time when I was in elementary school, because I do remember reading it while still living in Florida, and I didn't start middle school until we moved to Tennessee, but I did reread it multiple times while I was in middle school. And essentially what this book is about, I'm going to be honest though, before I start, I gravitated toward this book because there was a dog on the cover, and the dog plays a central part, so it's kind of like a dog story. And as a kid, you know, we gravitate towards things like that, but the story is such a beautiful, compelling story. So this girl, Charlie, she gets into a very bad accident and it ends up shattering her leg. So throughout the story, she kind of, this is her learning how to walk again. And on top of that, she's dealing with the death of her mother. So she has two huge catastrophic things that happen to her, and she's kind of processing them at the same time. And while she's recovering at her house, she sees this dog across the lake from where she lives, and she makes this connection with this dog. She ends up naming the dog Coyote. And throughout the story, Coyote kind of helps her navigate, you know, her trauma and helps her grieve her mother. And it's just such a beautiful story. And I think it goes to show that animals really do help us through difficult times, and they can help us emotionally. And so I definitely love the meaning of that story. And the next book I'm going to talk about is Runaway by Gwendolyn Van Draenen. And Runaway is about a girl, she runs away from her abusive foster parents. I mean, her foster parents were literally evil, and she takes it upon herself to run away one day after school. And she goes through a lot in this process. She's essentially homeless for the most of the book. She's homeless. I mean, she smuggles herself onto a train in order to get to the place she ends up. And, you know, it goes to tell the different people who helped her along the way and how she finally gets to her safe spot. And I always really liked this book just because I feel like it's a very incredible story. She had a lot of resilience, honestly, a lot of confidence to go and do that by her own. Like, she was a young girl who decided to do this on her own and find her happiness. And I really enjoy that story. And I think most kids should read it, because I don't think a lot of kids realize how good they have it, and that kind of helps with that perspective. My next book is also by Gwendolyn Van Draenen, and it's The Running Dream. And this is about a girl, she's a big track star, loves to run. That's her whole life. Running is her whole life. And then while going to a track meet one day, the bus gets into a car wreck and she ends up losing her leg. So essentially, she feels like her life has been taken from her. Even though she did survive, she doesn't have her leg. So she can't run, and running was her life. And it goes all over her way. She conquers that obstacle. And I mean, as a teenager too, it really showcases how as a teenager that affects her. As she gets to see her friends doing what she wanted to do and what she loves to do. And I think it's just a very emotional story. Gwendolyn Van Draenen writes these heart-wrenching stories, and she does such a good job at it. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Struck by Lightning, and something interesting about this book is it's written by Chris Colfer, who plays Kurt on Glee, and this is the book he wrote. And it also got turned into a movie, and I want to say it's one of Rebel Wilson's first roles, and it's such an incredible book and an incredible movie as well. And it's about this boy, and he gets bullied throughout high school, but he has big dreams. He wants to go to, I want to say it was Northwestern for journalism, and he wanted to be like the editor of the New Yorker. And in order to do this, he blackmails kind of the people who bully him into writing for his literary journal so he can up his chances of getting into Northwestern. And it's kind of just a commentary on bullying and how people treat each other. And it was a very enlightening book. It was also just such an incredible story. I think the way he wrote it was he did such an incredible job of writing this book. So the last book that I'm going to talk about is one of my all-time favorite books, and I'm gonna be honest, when I picked this up, I was in 6th grade when I picked this book up, And the main reason I picked the book up was because there was a dog on the cover. Little did I know what was gonna lie within the story, and that would become one of my favorite books of all time. I reread it every couple of years. I reread this book, and it's such a beautiful story. So this man adopts this dog. The dog's name is Enzo, and the story is actually told from the dog's perspective. So Enzo is the one telling the story, but he tells the life story of his owner and how he was there through all of it. And it's very emotional. I mean, it details how his owner gets married, his wife ends up getting cancer, and they just go through a lot of struggles throughout the book, but we get to hear it from the dog's perspective. And they made such an incredible movie. I mean, they did change quite a few things in the movie, so if you saw the movie, the book is quite different in some ways, but I still think they did a beautiful job. I think Kevin Costner did incredible being the voice of Enzo, and he really brought him to life. But this is one of those books that I always recommend to people. I mean, it is kind of a sad book, but it has such a happy ending. Well, it's not necessarily happy, but you get to have some of that happy ending in it. And I think it's just such an incredible story, and I absolutely love it. I'm trying so hard not to like give too many details of the story, but who knew a book about a dog could be this emotional and inspiring? And yeah, it's one of my favorite books of all time. So those I would say are like my top 5 books that I absolutely loved when I was in middle school. Obviously, there's so many more books that I read during that period of time, but these books just really stick out to me, and I remembered them all these years later. Like the Art of Racing in the Rain, I think about so often, and especially Runaway. I always think towards that book, and I want to reread so many books that I read in middle school. I don't know. I just feel like time was so different back then. Sometimes I do like to break apart from the whole romantasy, all the very popular TikTok books, and these kind of help me with it. But that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys give these books a chance, because even though all of them except for The Art of Racing the Rain are young adult books, but they're written so well that I think even adults can enjoy them. So, until next time, see you guys.